Hello, welcome to the next edition of Competitive Lists. Today I got 7 lists for you, one of which doesn't really feature any new cards, but it's nice to see it around again. The other rest of them have some decent amount of new cards, I believe, and they're all kind of sweet decks in their own right. So if you like this content, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, hit that bell notification so for future videos. We're on our way to 1,000 subs. Let's get there together, and make sure you let me down in the comment section which one of these decks is your favorite, and which one would you be interested in seeing me play. So let's get into the list. So starting off, we have Pika Nar, right? I guess there is a new card in this list, and that is Buzz Crusher, which is like the greatest card of all Magic. So there's that. It is a little awkward. The graphic is off because there's 4 Pika Nars, but it's only showing 2 up there. So keep that in mind. So this deck does happen to switch and play 4 Showdowns of the Skulls main board. Typically that card was always like 3 at most main and a couple on the side. They've chosen to go full blast in the main. We have Impulse Resolve, really good. Get Lost, one of the better premier removal spells. It looks like this deck has trimmed 1 Kamuno based off the look of this, which actually kind of makes sense. We have a Hazard for a little bit extra lands, which also could be used as a spell for PNLR turns. Then we have Bone Crusher because it does count as casting the thing out of exile after you foretell or put it on an adventure. Chain to the Rocks because it answers almost everything in the format except Malia, which you kind of want to answer at instant speed. Then in sideboard, we do have In the Festivities for the Convoke matchup. Raining Volley for Malia, also pretty decent against Convoke. A few other decks. Invasion of Gomikon, good against combo decks. Cage against Phoenix. Get Lost against Shieldred. Other big chunky things, also decent against enchantments. Containment Priest is good against creativity. We have Redeemed as a way to fight through Rakdos Sacrifice and combo decks like Lotus Field, which cast a lot of 5 drops or higher. So that should push them off to where they can't combo. Buzz Crusher also really good against the Lotus Field matchup. 2 Rest in Peace, if I'm guessing that right. It looks like Rest in Peace for the Phoenix matchup. That is PNLR for Pioneer. It looks like this deck's actually pretty decent against Phoenix, which is the dominant deck in the format. So let's get into the next list. Next on my list is a deck that is kind of going rampant through, decently rampant through standard. That is Helping Hand Mentor. So Monastery Mentor. So the deck tries to get the Mentor in the graveyard, return to the battlefield for 1 single white, while also protecting it with cards like No More Lies, Dovin's Veto, Spell Pierce, so we can protect our token generator. We also, seems like we don't really have a backup token generator, but that seems to be reasonable. We do have Ledger Shredder, which is a solid win con. And we have Spell Dancer, which is a card that I haven't really seen in a minute. This deck does not look like, other than No More Lies, it's not really picked up anything new per se. But it still looks like a sweet deck that I think could put up a decent result. If you're interested in, porting over your Monastery Mentor deck from Standard into Pioneer, this is possibly the best route to go. Sideboard, we have Portable Holes for aggro, 2 Moonlights for Coco, Cord, and also creativity. We have 3 Surge of Salvations for the Rakdos matchups. Another Dovin's Veto for heavy monster removal or counter spells. 2 Bankies for mid-range and grinding matchups. Dispute for control. We also have a Jace, kind of a nice little bring in. We can help loot, turn through our deck, make sure we're finding pieces, pitching in the yard. Then we have another Get Lost for Shieldreds. Then we have a Otatize command. I don't know what that's for. If you know what that's for, let me know down in the comment section. I guess it doesn't get back our Monastery Mentor, so I don't know what it's for exactly. But if you have any considerations for that card, what it's for, let me know down in the comment section. But this deck looks pretty sweet. We do have a temporary pass, Temporal Pass, which is kind of awesome, and Treasure Cruise. So check this deck out. try it out and let me know how you guys feel about it. Let's get into the next. Next is Red Green Ramp. So this deck has been on the rise. So this deck does try to utilize cards. Actually, where's the Nykthos on this list? Usually Gruff Triplets is in conjunction with Nykthos, because you can technically, quote unquote, accounts for 9 devotion. And Tortoise also helps to get with devotion. But it is interesting, this deck does play Elder Gargaroth and an Embercool and World Breakers. But then again, there's not the, quote unquote, the Sanctum of Ugin in the mana base to help get more. Now, what this deck does get to pick up is Cavernous Souls and Carplugian Forest. Maybe I'm honestly kind of debating about Carplugian Forest. I don't know if I'm playing it in my Gruul Ramp deck. It's probably better than a Stomping Grounds, to be honest, because we do play World Breaker as well. And having a color source that you can sack to and get back your World Breaker actually is quite reasonable. This deck, of course, trying to address its bad matchups. Lotus Field, horrendous. We got 4 Spheres for that. Plus, potentially 4 Brains to get rid of the Lotus Field. Other combo decks. We have Cindervines for aggro. And adjacent to that, we have Quakebringer for Amalia. 4 Stonebrains for combo. 2 Rexes for control. Then a Ulamog, because it's just based. That is Gruul Eldrazi for a Pioneer. Overall, this deck looks pretty awesome. I'm not sure if I actually would want to. I probably would want to try this because this is my type of deck. But I just don't know if this is the better path. Of course, there's also 2 Titan of Industries down there. Just chilling in the mana base. So keep that in mind as well. But Kozilek's Return is pretty good as a interaction piece for this type of deck, because we want to be able to answer multiple things for 1 card, since we are devoting card slots to ramp packages. So let's get into the next list. Next on my list is Boros Burn for Pioneer. And I think this is actually, I think, the deck I just faced tonight. Somewhat. We have a Helix, Boros Charm, Play with Fire, Light Up the Stage, Skewer. And we also have Eidolon, 3 main, 1 on the side. Probably, yeah. So this looks like Ben Stark's version of the deck, I believe. Bone Crushers, because it's really good. And then we have our Mage, Swiftspear, Kimono as our 1-drops for the aggression package. If you are interested, I did write up an article for Wizards budget. So it's $50, and then you could upgrade it. And there is, I think, an interesting take on Wizards that you guys might want to try if you want to look at the if you have any interest in becoming a member and joining the locals and getting that feature. But side note, we have a Get Lost for Shieldred because it's just really bad for us because we can't let them gain life. And the Festivities for Boros Convoke. Eidolon for Phoenix, also pretty decent against Lotus Field, other decks that like to cast a bunch of spells. Searing Blood, pretty good against aggro decks, we bring it in. Cut back on stuff like Skewer or whatever. We get to deal 2 damage or something and still get to burn their face, which is extremely important. Rolling Vortex and Rampaging Frost on for the Malia matchup. Vortex also pretty good against the Lotus Field matchup because they do cast 2 free spells, which is 10 points of damage off of their Ultimatum. Then we have 2 Lauren of the 3rd path, pretty reasonable threat against artifacts and enchantments. Also a little bit of card advantage, technically from control perspective, but that is Boros Burn from that got a 5-0 list. Let's get into the next list. So next is a very spicy deck that got a 5-0, and that is Simic Butts. Now this deck is playing Faithful, which I've not seen this card played, which I guess it makes sense. A 1-mana 4/4, 1-mana 4/4 Secret Keeper, Grazer, which helps ramp us, Hopefully we can get down a formation or a Watley relatively soon. It picked up a brand new card in the Pride of the Hulk Clade. Then last set we had the Tortoise, which really helps, gives us a lot more redundancy. And then we have our couple copies down here of our Rogue, which allows us our stuff to become unblockable, which is really important. And then we have the Turtle, and also a 2-mana 6/6 potentially. So this is kind of awesome because this is a deck that I think is really cool. It's nice to see it get a 5/0. I am potentially waiting on a similar, to me, play a similar idea. Except my idea is a little bit more on the janky side since all these things are turtles. So I built a turtle list, which is we're probably a lot worse than this because, they're playing actually 2-mana 6/6s. I got 2-mana 5/5s. So sideboard, we have 2 Spell Pierces for a little bit of protection. We have Ether Gust. I'm not really sure what this is for. Malia, maybe? I don't know. Like, green isn't really a powerhouse in the format. Jailer, I'm pretty sure this is for Phoenix. We have pick your poison for kind of a catch-all. It can get a Troxa if, they're trying to Neoform into it. Also gets an artifacts and enchantments. We have change the equation to also deal with some sort of green or red based strategy. Mystical Disputes for the control matchup. That is our Simic Butts for Pioneer. Let's get into the next list. Next on my list is a Monog Green Devotion list. Now this list is a little bit pivoting to the elemental package. We have Cavalier. We have a couple Wake Root elementals, which basically kind of pseudo goes infinite with Nykthos, and eventually you get infinite mana and you just turn all your stuff into 5/5s, smash face, win the game. We have a Haven for ramp, Leyline of the Guild Pack, 4 copies, which is, I think, is kind of excessive, but I get why you're running it. We have a Ori, which is an interesting take on this deck, and then we have a Tribute to the World Tree to keep turning through our deck. We have a Kiora and a Druid's Charm to get our Nykthos or our Castle / Sunken Citadel. And we have a Leveler down here for a little bit of removal from our creature suite. And then we have a little bit of life gain with Titan. Sideboard, we have Jailer for Phoenix, Stonebrain for combo. Titan is also pretty decent against Phoenix. I'm assuming we're cutting probably something else, like a Hydra or something for that, because it does have reach and it's pretty big. We have two Hornet Queens, kind of clogs up the board against like Evoke, stuff like that. 3 Rexes for control, a Hydra for a little bit of fighting. Then for control, we also have a package of Ulamog, Emrakul, and potentially Leveler, depending on the given matchup. Again, we don't play Sanctum of Ugin, so we can't really just like play a 8-drop, sack the land, get another 8-drop. But, we should be able to fight through, I think, control relatively effectively. And of course, this deck has a very good matchup against Rakdos. I'm not really sure about the jank him out Vein Ripper. It could definitely get underneath this deck. Titan is also pretty good against that matchup because it comes down to 7/7. It does block Vein Ripper. Also can blow up a Fable and a Mirror Breaker, which is quite potent. So I do like this deck in regards to potentially stacking up against that deck. We also have Emrakul. It has flying, so also could trade with a Vein Ripper or kill a Vein Ripper. But that is our Mono Green Devotion for Pioneer. Let's get into the next list. So last on my list is Azorius, kind of Evoke-like thing. This is more on the trying to get down, quote-unquote, artifacts to get a good Mikachu's Reign of Truth. We also try to protect our stuff with Metallic Rebuke, which is almost always a 1-mana counter target spell for, let's say, pay 3. We have Bunnycorn, which gets really big, really fast. We don't really have an evasion, which is kind of weird. We have Hacker for card advantage, of 1 mine for card advantage. Then we have Reliquary for a little bit of spot removal, and Copter for a little bit of quote-unquote card advantage / looting. A little bit more portable holes for aggro. Another portable on the board for aggro. Lauren's Escape for heavy monster removal. Spell Pierce, pretty good against, control, where you're just trying to tempo them out. Denial, this should almost always be a better negate in the shell, because we do have Bunny Corn, we have Mikaju's Reign of Truth. Unless it's on our turn, we should be able to Sprocket. We have 2 Destroy Evils for Answer to Shieldred. Smite, 4 copies. Seems kind of weird. If I'm going to be honest with you, that seems like a very weird include. If you're the maker of this list, let me know down in the comment section what you got them for. I do get like they are pretty good against black and red cards, but I think it's only red and black creatures, and I think isn't this a sorcery speed and removal spell? So I don't know about this one. We have Rest in Peace for Phoenix, and that is my last list, which is Azorius aggro, artifact aggro. So I'm gonna say, let me know down in the comment section which one of these decks you guys like the most. What cards do you want to see me brew around? Because I'm in the process right now of building a decent amount of decks to be put into articles right now. So right now I got 2 budget decks, and I got like 5 or 6 of my specialty list already done up in a article. I am going to be doing Abzan mid-range relatively soon, because that's my next target in Pika Nar. But other than that, like I said, I want to know all that stuff down in the comment section. If you don't know, also, if you're interested, if you go to join my Discord, the link's in the description, or you could email me. I'll send you the information if you want to pay for me to play your deck through a league, / write an article with sideboard guide, help, and everything like that. If you're interested in that, it's $20. It's not terrible, since most people are like $25, $30 for a deck tech or a league. So league stream. So if you want to interested in that and help supporting the content that I do, definitely look into that. But that's not, like I said, it's not mandatory. But let me know down in the comment section all you want me to know about these lists. And until next time, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. Talk to you soon.